AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. J-Boy, 15 minutes from right now, talk some SEC football, a lot of spring games in the rearview mirror. David DeLucci in 1 hour from right now. We'll talk some SEC baseball and not the most pleasant conversation as of right now. For the first time since 2021, which was Paul Maneri's final season in Baton Rouge, Tigers have been swept in consecutive SEC weekends. Last week, of course, at Ole Miss, and then this past weekend at home against Texas A&M. Listen, there's not a whole lot really to say about the weekend. Whether you watched it, listened to it, casually checked scores, it was pretty much what it appeared to be. You got outclassed by a much better team. LSU did not lead at any point this weekend. 3 games, they never had the lead. The bullpen and defense, which have been the shortcomings for this team for the bulk of the season, were actually really good. You committed 1 error in 3 games. It was Tanner Reeves on Sunday, making his first start in forever. You played a clean game defensively the first 2 days. Your bullpen, look, you used 8 pitchers on Friday. It was out of hand, and so you were just using your up 10, down 10 guys to get through it. You didn't want to use any of your key arms. But then Saturday and Sunday, your bullpen was great. Saturday, your bullpen did not allow a run. They gave you a chance. Sunday, Devin Sheeran went 4 1/3 of 1-run ball. He was absolutely outstanding. Marcus Paz was really good. They gave you a shot. I mean, if you told me that LSU was going to allow 5 runs to Texas A&M on Sunday, I'd have told you they'd have won that game. But against a team that came into this weekend 13th in the league in staff ERA, and on Sunday, with Weston Moss pitching, after they got shelled by Missouri 3 weeks ago, you didn't score until the 8th on Sunday. You put up 2 runs. Just really disappointing all the way around. It feels like a team that's thrown in the towel, just got beaten down by a better team and didn't punch back, which is very disappointing to see. Because we have seen the fight from this team. Even a week ago against Ole Miss on Sunday when you were down 7-0, you rallied all the way back to tie the game at 7 with that 7-run 7th. And then you gave up the lead in the 8th. But in any event, really disappointing that, or I guess in the bottom of the 7th. But either way, really disappointing weekend, no doubt about it. Now you're 6-12 in the conference, and it's incredible. 10 days ago, you were 6-6, feeling okay after winning the series against Tennessee with the big comeback on Easter. 10 days ago, you're going into that game against Ole Miss on Friday night, feeling pretty good. Fast forward 10 days, you're 6 games under 500 at 6-12, and your season feels over. It's hard to mathematically find a way that feels realistic for LSU. On the road this weekend against Mississippi State. You still got a road series against Georgia. You got a home series against South Carolina, which you can win that series. And you got a home series against Florida, which has been a Jekyll and Hyde team, but they've been playing better of late. So just challenging to find a way to 13 league wins when that's where you stand presently. Needing 7 wins the rest of the way to get you to 13, 7 of your final 12 just doesn't really feel realistic considering who you have to play. But baseball, funny things happen, all that sort of stuff. More so than dissecting what happened this weekend, because it's what it is. I mean, there's just not a whole lot to say. I think the most pointed thing to come out of the weekend is what Jay Johnson said after Friday night's loss. And if most people have heard it, talked about it a bunch by now, but this is what Jay said.
I made some mistakes in constructing the team and trying to replace 2 guys that were irreplaceable, where we should have looked for replacing them through guys that were already in the program and then replaced the guys that were athletic and could play defense and be more complete players. Okay, we won't make that mistake again. You know, the power moving forward will come from players that start their career here and develop into it like Jake has, per se, this year. But I can't do anything about that now. But what I can do is try to get them to understand, like Texas A&M, a top 5 team, won the game tonight because they hit the ball hard and low the other way. When did we do it one time? Kate Arambidi did it tonight, okay, and a 2-out RBI. But that was the one time. But when we pop up to short, ground out to short, fly ball to center field, the appearance is we're trying to do too much. And trying to do too much is not a plan or a sign of a mature offensive baseball team. And that's my responsibility. And that will get fixed.
So Jay owned it, but also in no uncertain terms said they made mistakes and their players aren't good enough. So listen, when you're Jay Johnson and you've won 2 of the last 3 national championships, you have almost an infinite amount of credit, of rope. There's nobody here that's going to criticize Jay Johnson today. He's the best coach in college baseball. And when you make a comment like that, when a season's not going well after you've won 2 of the last 3 championships, it's going to be, man, good on Jay for owning it, which I agree with. If it's a coach that wasn't having success and said that, it's always throwing his players under the bus. So it goes to show you how fans, media, everyone can interpret the same comments differently based on circumstance. But I think we all agree. Jay Johnson's the best coach in college baseball. He's giving you a very candid moment there, and he's going to do things differently and get it fixed. But if you peel back the layers of what he's saying, so we try to replace 2 guys that were irreplaceable. He's talking about Jones and Fry. And they went into the portal, and they added the all-time home run leader at Grand Canyon, and they went and added Caraway and Simpson and Dardar, and they tried to go do it that way. And in adding those guys from the portal, they saw some of their highly regarded recruits leave. Ryan Costello is now the starting first baseman at Maryland. Mikey Ryan is the starting shortstop at NC State, and they're both having outstanding seasons. Ryan's hitting nearly .330. Costello's got 13 homers. And what would you give right now for Costello to be your first baseman and Michael Ryan to be your second baseman? I don't know that this team is dramatically different, but they're better at 2 spots where they've been bad this year. And also the money that you spent on to bring in York and Dardar and Simpson and Caraway, if that money could have been allocated maybe to a top-tier pitcher or to retain your roster, are we having a different conversation? Like, could you have gotten Ethan Fry back for another year with a heavier financial spend offered it? Maybe. If you didn't have to go give that money like you did in the portal. You see what I'm saying? It could be a very different conversation. But Jay's telling you what we've talked about here now for weeks, which is you missed in the portal, and guys that were here that left are having great seasons. So you spend all the resources you do scouting and recruiting guys throughout their high school class to sign out of the high school class. You get them here for a year, and then you have to replace guys that are gone. Instead of replacing with your guys coming up, you go into the portal. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because LSU's had a tremendous amount of success in the portal. Like, you hit on Tommy White. You hit on Michael Braswell. You hit on Daniel Dickinson. You hit on, obviously, Paul Skeens and Anthony Ianson and on Holman and Jump. Like, you've hit in the portal. This year you missed. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't utilize the portal. You should absolutely utilize the portal. And LSU's had an awesome run of success utilizing the portal. But when you miss, this is what it looks like. And that's unfortunate for this team because you had really good players on the roster that are now gone. So going into this offseason, it'll be fascinating to see. Because you look around and you go, man, William Patrick is a heck of an athlete. You want that guy in your program. Marcos Paz, like that guy will be a weekend arm in the SEC before his career is over. You can see the talent, the ability. You can look up and down this team. It's why we've talked about Cerna. It's why we've talked about Braun. Like getting those guys opportunities so they stay. Like let them develop this year. Get closer to their potential. It'll be a fascinating offseason for Jay. Because you're going to have to find a way to strike that balance, to retain the incredible roster that you worked so hard to recruit for years out of high school, but supplement where you feel it's necessary out of the portal. But this has been an interesting test case because it didn't go well this year after it had gone well each year up until this point. I mean, go back to Jacob Berry. I mean, that was a guy he had at Arizona, but still. It's the risk of going in the portal and missing. We saw with LSU basketball. They spent heavily in the portal, missed, you were 3-15. Saw with LSU football this past season. You were an injured quarterback away from being 7-6. So, it'll be a different approach to the offseason, as you heard Jay say there. How does it take shape and look? It'll be a fascinating thing to watch, but I think it's right to say you have to work on roster retention. You work so hard to recruit and develop and get these guys to campus. You got to keep them here and maximize their time in college. So how you strike that balance will be interesting to watch. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. We are brought to you by Supper Club, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. Supper Club, y'all, they're closed today. They're closed Sunday, Monday. They'll be reopened on Tuesday. I told you this on Friday. But if you're someone who loves steak, Chef Layton does an amazing job of trying to acquire new things to add to the menu. Of course, they have their standard menu offerings, but he's always looking at different specials and ways he can bring creative, different types of things for people who love rare beef to try. And I was talking to Chef on Thursday, and they have 2 slabs of Kobe, of true Japanese, authentic Japanese Kobe beef. Like with the purple chrysanthemum on the end of the slab. Like if you've ever seen it, it's incredible. I think in the entire time they've been open, this is the second time they've ever gotten true, authentic Japanese Kobe beef. So if you have ever had Kobe beef or you want to try it, I would highly recommend you get by Supper Club in the next week because once it's gone, it's gone. It's not a thing where you can just reorder and there's more the next day. So it's one of those things where if you want to try something truly different and special, get by Supper Club. Get your reservations at supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com, or you can always just pop on in, open seating at the bar every Tuesday through Saturday. Supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us here this Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. David DeLucci in about 45 minutes. We'll get Lucha's thoughts on the LSU baseball team and, of course, the SEC as a whole. We do that every Monday. We do know now what happened to Garrett Nussmeier. We'll get to that in 15 minutes when we come back. Jake Crain from Crain and Cone will join us. Stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. Complete employer solutions. It's Glow Resources. If you're hiring, if you're someone who hires within your business, you need Glow Resources because Glow Resources, over the course of a year, conducts some 15,000 interviews. So they are experts at finding the right people for your business. What business? Any business. It doesn't matter if you're looking for skilled blue-collar labor or if you're looking for an office job. Their professional placement division can help with that. And they handle at Glow all of the heavy lifting. Glow Resources, when they hire an employee, they handle 401k. They handle the payroll and the paychecks. They handle cost tracking and compensation and insurance and employee records and all of the stuff. They handle all of it at Glow Resources. So what are you waiting on? Maximize productivity. Glow Resources can help. GLO, glowresources.com. Our friends over at River Parish Contractors, they do turnarounds too. As a matter of fact, I just got this in my inbox from my buddy Ronnie over at River Parish Contractors. They just completed a turnaround with CF Industries. It's a major, major effort that required a ton of coordination. But get this. They completed 1,367 welds with only 3 repairs. And safety. Safety performance is always at the core. 65,000 man-hours worked with 0 recordables, 0 first aids, no significant incidents. It's River Parish Contractors. They're just the best. Yeah, they do turnarounds too. rpcontractors.com. Check them out online. You want to learn more? rpcontractors.com.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
Just celebrating you today, Muse. And your favorite song.
Songs from a great movie, Meet the Parents.
What do they talk about with this song in that movie?
Well, Robert De Niro's character just likes the song. He likes Peter, Paul, and Mary. I thought it was about a little boy and his magic dragon.
Well, what is it about?
As far as I know, about a little boy and his magic dragon.
Oh, is that what you think?
That's what I think.
Why don't you ask Denny, who's been puffing the magic dragon? Jake Crain's with us. Crain and Cone every single weekday. How are you, dude?
I'm doing good. I wish there was some better walk-up music other than, like, the third song that was ever made. But, other than that, I'm doing good.
What do you have against Peter, Paul, and Mary?
There was 3 of them? God, you think 3 people come up with something a little bit, like, juicier than that? I don't know. Maybe just before my time, I guess.
Do I have to spell it out for you? Do you really not know?
Who Peter, Paul, and Mary? I thought that was the Bible.
Why we would play that song today?
420. I get it.
Yeah, we're just celebrating. Nice. We're just celebrating Musso today on his day. This is his day.
Okay, is it 420 is his day?
It's not my day.
It's his day.
It's not my day.
It's his day.
I know what you do with your free time.
We all do. Hey, you know what? He adamantly denies all allegations. You know what he said? I said, "How's your day?" He goes, "Well, it started not great. I deleted an entire podcast that I recorded." I was like, "Oh, can't imagine why that happened."
And delete it.
Right? Oh, you just lost it?
It just
it just disappeared. Jake, it just disappeared.
Yeah, dude. I just blame everything on Iran now, so they took it.
Hey, is that why Garrett Nussmeier had a cyst on his spine?
People are talking.
I'll tell you what.
People are talking.
Those damn Iranians.
I think it's half the reason we went over there.
Hey, spring games are wrapping up around the conference. You got a big storyline takeaway so far? Anything really grab your attention?
Man, Matt, the quarterback battles are always going to be the thing that everybody talks about during spring. But I don't take too much from the games. It's funny. You have 15, 16, 17 practices, however you go about it. You could have one quarterback totally outperform the other in 16 out of those 17, but if he has a bad spring game, everybody thinks he's terrible. So I guess I would say probably I always look, because when I was in it, deep down, if you ask any coach, the most important thing is nobody getting hurt too badly at an important position. I always look at the injuries and who, suffered the worst ones. I remember last year, South Carolina's supposed to started left tackle, went down in spring, I think tore his ACL.
Yeah.
You had one of A&M's captains, look like he had a bad injury. Noah Rogers from Bama, who came over from NC State, didn't look good when he went down. So as sad as it is, I look more at the injuries and really kind of how some of these transfers are fitting in. That's the main thing I take away from it.
Look, there's also interesting situations all over the conference where you have new coaches. A year ago, there was no coaching turnover. This year, it feels like half the league has new coaches. Look, Auburn just wrapped up spring. Golish is interesting, especially because you're bringing Byron Brown over, so there's familiarity with the offense and the quarterback. Was there and look, LSU's going to play Auburn again this year for the first time after that game going away for a few seasons. Big takeaway from Auburn, the first spring under Golish?
Man, and again, without being at the practices, I mean, I know some of the coaches I've talked to them. I think it seems like the culture's changing a little bit, and really, I listen to the players talk mostly, most coaches, and I don't think Golish is a huge coach speak guy, but the players will kind of let you know. And hearing Xavier Atkins talk about how last year everybody was talking about, man, if we can just be in the game in the fourth quarter, we can have a chance to win. This year it's, we should be beating you to death by the fourth quarter, and if we're not, then something's wrong, and we'll handle it in the fourth quarter. I do think, the whole, they're not just listening to Switchfoot the whole practice. I think the vibe has changed a little bit at Auburn, and, I know there's some people that look at the spring game, and they're like, oh, Byron Brown threw a couple interceptions. He wasn't really allowed to run. That's like telling a three-point shooter in basketball, hey, you're just going to have to drive this whole game. They're probably not going to have the best game. So I do think the culture is changing a little bit. It takes time for that truly to cement. That's why, to be honest with you, I think this is the most interesting year of Indiana, not to change the subject, because that core group that Sig took with him from JMU to Indiana is now gone. Can that culture cement in and still be the same when the core that started it is gone? So I think there's some positive things coming out of Auburn.
What about Texas A&M? It's kind of a what do you do for an encore, right? You make the playoff, and now you got to build upon it.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just in this day and age with the revolving door of rosters in the transfer portal, I mean, building culture is hard enough, but then maintaining it, I think, is harder than it's ever been. So it's going to be a really interesting case study this year.
Do you think A&M is a team that, despite what they're going to lose to the draft, even though you get Marcel Reed back, is that a team that you think is prepared to take another step after making the playoffs?
I do, Matt. And again, at the end of the day, I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, well, this has happened, 2 years in a row, or this team's never done anything, so they're never going to do anything. If that was the case, then, Indiana, we just mentioned, would still be where they were at. When I look at A&M, just like I look at any team, I start up front. Because if you're good up front, you can cover a lot of things around it, even if you're mediocre. And I think with the resources that A&M has, and look, you can love him, you can hate him, Mike Elko's a hell of a football coach. And he does a great job of getting the most out of the guys that he's had. And now you put him in a place that can give him the most in return. I don't think A&M's going anywhere for a long time, as long as he's there, to be honest.
You believe in the Texas hype?
I mean, again, are you saying like they're the best team in the country hype, or like a top 2 team in the country,
yeah.
or are they definitely? I mean, it's hard not to look at that roster and think that's a possibility. I mean, you add Cam Coleman to Ryan Wingo, it now gives you 2 sides of the field that are covered with guys on the outside that are going to make you bracket in 2-man. They're going to have to understand they've got to protect the deep third at all times, and that's going to open up things underneath. And I just think defensively what they have up front, again, I'll go back to the line of scrimmage, there ain't a bad player running around on that field, and they have depth. So, yeah, you get Ohio State at home this year. Arch has another year under his belt. I think Texas is going to be right there with the best of them. Hot take, I know.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, they were 9-3 last year, and there was good. There was also not good. Jake, I think it's just the reality is every team in the SEC has expectation, which means
for sure,
half the league is going to be disappointed. Fans who have expectations for their team to be a playoff team, it's not going to look at LSU a year ago. I mean, they got all the way up to number 3 in the country after beating Clemson. They finished 7-6. I mean, it's going to happen, especially with a 9-game league schedule. Do you have a thought on what you've seen or heard out of LSU so far in the first spring under Lane?
Well, look, I mean, to be honest with you, Matt, and I've said this a million times and told you this a million times, I don't worry about the offense with Lane Kiffin. It's the same way I don't worry about whether or not I'm going to see a fat person at a buffet,
True.
Right? Or if Iran's telling the truth. Like, I just there's things that I know.
Yeah.
To me, what, and we actually talked about this on a show we recorded today. We're dropping Wednesday with David Pollack. I think this LSU team has the best chance to be the most balanced LSU team that they've had in a while. The Levitt injury obviously is a big deal. I'm going under the auspices of he's going to be fine and he's going to play. But we've seen Lane take all types of quarterbacks and do things offensively. But, if you look at LSU, what has hurt them is they haven't played complementary football. You look at the Jaden Daniels team, all-world offense, defense couldn't stop a nosebleed in a nurse's office. Well, the defense gets better under Blake Baker, and then the offense takes a step back. What I like is I look at this LSU roster, and when you pour the type of money they've poured in, you expect to see this, and I see a balanced football team all around, and balance keeps you on the beam. It allows you to win games the most ways, and those are the teams that win the most.
If you have a big question or concern about LSU this year, what is it?
Man, I would say that they get distracted because I think, as much as I love the Lane Kiffin act, I think it's great. I think it's actually good for the game. I do feel like, and I mean, heck, even in Ole Miss's best year they've ever had last year, you felt like there was a bunch of distractions because of off the field stuff with Lane saying this or doing this or whatever. But to be honest with you, if that's the biggest worry that you have going into the season, you're probably in a pretty good spot. And Lane's going to be Lane anyway, so I don't think any of the players are going to be surprised. It's just all of a sudden you come out and you beat Clemson up pretty good, and you're looking like you're cooking. That hype train's going to really, really, really start rolling, and you're going to test the maturity of this team, and that's when I'll know about this group.
Jake Crain and Cone, make sure you subscribe there on YouTube. If look bottom half of the league, last thing, bottom half of the league, what's a team that you think coming out of spring could be poised to make a step, make a leap?
Man, I really like what Will Stein's doing at Kentucky. It feels, I'm trying to remember what the name of that show was, where they'd like fix up a house and they'd be like, move that bus. And then they'd move the bus and like the house looks great.
Extreme Makeover? Stuff. Was that what it was?
Yes. I'm
it?
shocked you know that. I'm absolutely shocked you know. With that one guy who like.
No, you know what, man? You're still in my like I have an era. Like I have an era where I was aware of.
You're in the move that bus era.
Yes, I was in the move that bus era, and my mom loved that show too. I mean, she was like a P1 of that show. So I was very aware of that. Maybe like when I was in high school.
Yeah. Okay. So you understand. So like I feel like Will Stein, because Kentucky with Mark Stoops was like, well, we're gonna fight you and it's gonna be ugly and we're gonna go out there and scratch and claw. With Will Stein, he's like, yeah, this is Gucci. Yeah. Oh, I mean, they're signing like number 2 quarterbacks overall. I think it's going to be so new, and there is a benefit, and we see this in baseball a lot, in Major League Baseball. People are like, man, how did this pitcher come into the Major League Baseball in his first couple starts? He's just mowing everybody down. Well, the book isn't out on you yet. It may be out on you as an OC at Oregon and where you were, but the book with you as a head coach isn't out yet, so you can sneak a couple. So I actually think Kentucky is going to cause some problems for a guy. I would not be shocked if we looked up at the end of the year and Kentucky beat a couple teams that made the other team 9-3 and kept them out of the playoff, kind of like they did to Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin a couple years ago.
He's Jake Crain and Cone. What's for dinner?
Man, well, we're actually going on vacation tomorrow, believe it or not. Yeah, we're making. Our daughter just loves red meat. She's definitely a Crain for sure. So hamburgers, steak, hot dogs, all type of stuff. She loves it. So we're gonna go hamburgers, and she likes the crinkle cut fries too. I think so. I think we're gonna go with that before we head to Antigua tomorrow.
She's a champ. Love that. Hey, dude, we appreciate the time. Enjoy your vacay with the fam.
Hey, appreciate it, and happy 420 to you guys. You know what I'm saying?
There you go, Muse. Puffing the Magic Dragon over there.
You go, baby. Ride the dragon, baby. All right, see ya.
See ya. That's Jake Crain from Crain and Cone. We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com, ARCCO, Arco.com. Hey, remember, we talk all the time about Generac home standby generators. This is not that. At Arco, it's standby generators for your business. So what happens? Storm comes, power goes out, or, because sometimes it happens here in South Louisiana on a beautiful sunny day and power just goes out. What happens to your business? Well, you can't afford to go offline. That's why Arco is here. Everything's turnkey. They can sell, service, install, rent your Generac industrial standby generator. So log on to arco.com for more information. ARCCO, arco.com, and they're not just in Baton Rouge. They have a giant multi-state footprint in the southeast, north to Little Rock, east to Mobile, west to San Antonio. Draw a big, giant circle. If you're anywhere in that footprint, you own a business, an industrial facility, municipality, Arco can help. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com. All right, y'all, we're halfway home here on this Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. We're not going to break, come back. We now know, according to Tom Pelissero, what caused Garrett Nussmeier's discomfort this season. We'll react to it next and talk about what it might mean for his draft stock as well. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Man, I had a great time on Friday. Left here, went out to Alec Box Stadium, got to hang out with the folks from Woodside Energy who were in town because they were the title sponsor of the LSU baseball game on Friday. They were kind enough to invite me to go to the game with them. And I asked them if they were in town from Houston. I asked where they're staying. Watermark, downtown, naturally. You got friends coming in from out of town, family members for a baseball game, a football game in the fall, or for a holiday or just because. Make sure they know about Watermark Baton Rouge. It is Baton Rouge's premier hotel property, gorgeous luxury hotel in downtown Baton Rouge. They took the old Louisiana National Bank building. They've added so many modern amenities while maintaining the historical significance. There's 2 great dining options there as well. Milford's on 3rd is the casual sandwich shop. Grab-and-go lunches if you're downtown as well. Of course, the Gregory's upscale dining experience there in the lobby of Watermark Baton Rouge. And always a great place to stay or host an event downtown. It's Watermark Baton Rouge.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
Help find a life-saving bone marrow donor match for Kate, an 11-year-old St. Jude patient who urgently needs a transplant. Kate has a serious TP53 mutation, and doctors say finding a bone marrow donor match as soon as possible gives her the best chance at survival. Donor drives will be held on LSU's campus Thursday, April 23rd from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Friday, April 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the parade grounds and the quads. If you're between the ages of 18 and 35, you can join the National Donor Registry with a quick, cheap swab. And on Thursday, the 23rd, all of our stations will broadcast their full lineup of shows live from the LSU parade grounds. If you can't make it to campus, you can also register online through the Team Kate link at 1045ESPN.com. They'll mail you a free swab kit. Learn more and help us find Kate's match at the Donor Drive on LSU's campuses April 23rd and 24th.
Really excited about getting out there on Thursday. Would be a wonderful, wonderful day if we're able to help that family and that beautiful little girl. 11 years old, man, looking for a bone marrow match. So, excuse me. It would just be an amazing day. They had a swab event, I believe, at Ole Miss. I know they had it at Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Maybe combined or one of them had 3,000 people swabbed, and still have not found a match for that little girl. So praying hard that a lot of very generous people come out. They go through the process to get swabbed, and hopefully we can find her match and help save the little girl's life. So. We'll be out there for our full lineup of shows on Thursday at the LSU Quad, and we encourage you to come on by, get swabbed. If you can't be there, we got the link to everything in all of our social medias. You can get a kit, as Muse said, get a kit sent to you. You can get swabbed and hopefully help us find the match. If nothing else, even if you don't qualify to be a donor, maybe you can help us spread the word. It's after further review. David DeLucci will be here in about 20 minutes from right now. Well, we now know what caused Garrett Nussmeier's discomfort. And no surprise that it would happen the week of the draft, because this is when leaks like this happen every single year in advance of the draft. This is when we learn about dilute samples at the combine. This is when, gas mask videos become public where past transgressions that from years prior become public. Look, Reuben Bain, that story about him driving the car in the fatal crash from 2 years ago is just now popping up again. It's what teams and agents do to try to affect draft stock and muddy the water. But for Garrett Nussmeier, I think most teams are well aware now by this point after Senior Bowl, Combine, Pro Day, top 30 visits of what's going on here with Garrett. So Tom Pelissero shared the news earlier today. Garrett Nussmeier underwent tests at the Combine that revealed a cyst on his spine, which apparently was the root cause of the oblique pain that derailed his season. Pelissero writes, the cyst was pressing on a nerve, causing discomfort in Nussmeier's oblique. He has been asymptomatic since just prior to the Senior Bowl and all throughout the draft process. If that changes down the road, Nussmeier could undergo a minimally invasive procedure and miss just 2 to 3 weeks while stitches heal. So either way, doctors say no short or long-term risk for Nussmeier's projected mid-round pick in this week's NFL draft. So it was a cyst on Nussmeier's spine pressing on a nerve that caused and created the discomfort for Garrett Nussmeier. It's so interesting. I'm glad to finally know the answer and what it was, because it was pretty clear as you work through the timeline back on, in mid-August, whenever they were just going through load management, and Nussmeier was having painful episodes. But as we've talked about, doctors were running tests, and they couldn't find it. They couldn't find a tear or a strain of his oblique, ab, core. There was nothing muscular wrong with him that they could diagnose, which is why a lot of people around the program at the time were wondering, like, is it psychosomatic? Is it something? Like, what is going on here? There's tests are revealing nothing. And so now we learned it was a cyst on his spine pressing on a nerve. Not to say Nussmeier was making up the pain. It was just it was perplexing because they kept running tests and the tests weren't revealing anything. But he was clearly, saying he was in pain. And obviously there were times when he took time off and he improved. I mean, Brian Kelly, remember on September the 22nd against Southeastern, Nuss went out there and slung the ball around and looked like himself. This was Brian Kelly after that game.
Well, you saw him play versus the other teams, and you saw him that night, and I think you could see a difference in what he was doing. He was much more confident throwing the football. So, yeah, there's a couple things we can clean up, with him, and I think that's good that there's a couple, and he can continue to play better. But it's good to see him back to where he had been prior to the year, and I know he's feeling really comfortable right now.
So, he had gone through that process where time off, let him get healed and healthy and feeling better, and then he would regress, and he was playing, and then obviously he had the recurrence, once they got into past the Alabama week, and then they shut him down for the remainder of the year, and then being on total rest until Senior Bowl, and then he's been asymptomatic since. So all that to say, very happy for Garrett to be asymptomatic, to be able to go through the pre-draft process and show physically what we all saw in 2024. Very disappointing that 2025 played out the way it did in his fifth year. His senior season was so much on the line and so much expectation with that team. Also, you can't help but think, like, what if? Had they been able to find the cyst in fall camp, could they have done the procedure that Pelissero wrote about that would have kept him out for 2 to 3 weeks to heal stitches, and then this isn't a problem, and then maybe Garrett has a great senior season? But if that happens, Brian Kelly's probably still the coach. Lane Kiffin isn't here, but then how good of a season would they have had? Don't know. I mean, it's a butterfly effect that you could play that game, how it may all play out. But for whatever it's worth right now, Jordan Reed over at ESPN put out his mock draft, and he's got Nussmeier 93rd overall to the Rams, which, man, that feels like in Sean McVay's offense, backing up Matthew Stafford. You talk about the quote-unquote gunslinger mentality, which how people describe Stafford for a lot of years. That feels like a perfect fit. And you also, I'm not sure if you saw, but Jimmy Garoppolo, who's been backing up Stafford, is contemplating retirement, which would certainly open the door for a backup quarterback option in this draft for the Rams. You'd hate to see Nussmeier fall at around 3, but a guy who made a lot of money during his time at LSU, it feels like this would be more about going to the right situation, the right fit. Man, for Nussmeier, if he were to go to the Rams and have an opportunity to sit behind Stafford for a year, however much longer Matthew Stafford may play in that offense, to learn and not have to be thrust into things right away, that feels like that could be a perfect situation. But the the mystery is apparently now over. A cyst on the spine, which was pressing on a nerve that created the discomfort for Garrett Nussmeier in 2025. Here's hoping it's health and prosperity moving forward for Garrett and all the LSU Tigers as they move into draft week. All right, it is after further review. Speaking of that Jordan Reed mock draft, I do want to revisit that coming up in about half an hour. It's a 7-round mock, so I'll tell you what he's got the Saints doing, where the LSU guys are going, all that stuff as we're here into in a draft week. And the all of the mock drafts are flying left and right as we're into crunch time now for these teams and where these players will be spending the next years of their pro career. So we'll get into all that as we continue. All right, quick break. Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows. Windows, door siding. They do shutters and shades too. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. We'll do Tigers and the Pros to wrap up hour number 2 next.
AFR.
Rev is now Rev Fiber. RevFiber.com. 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 That's where you can get them online. Hey, look, when we're talking about Rev, remember, they are a local company that served our communities for 90 years. They have a better product, lightning fast speeds, backed by the reliability of an all-fiber network. So for your business, certainly for your home, but think about it for your business as well. How much money do you spend every month on your internet service provider, your automation, if you have cable phones? Rev can handle all of that with a better product, local service, and cheaper than what you're paying with your current internet service provider. You got to check out Rev Fiber. For your home or for your business, it's Rev Fiber, R-E-V. Go to RevFiber.com, RevFiber.com. Talk to a local Rev representative, RevFiber.com.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And oh, we do shutters too.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. David DeLucci will be here in about 12 minutes from right now. Recap the weekend that was in the SEC for baseball. Obviously, disappointing for the Tigers, who were swept for the second consecutive weekend. That hasn't happened since 2021, and LSU is really up against it. The math struggles to math right now. If you're trying to find a path for LSU to get into the postseason, that benchmark baseline has typically been 13 wins, 13 SEC wins. Typically gets you into the postseason. For this team, that is that just feels like a real. You're just gonna have to win a road series against Mississippi State or Georgia, and and a home series against Florida and South Carolina, and that just feels really, really improbable at this point. So it's baseball. Strange things can happen. Pitchers can get hot, and maybe you can ride them, and maybe you'll get Cooper Moore back, and who knows, because it's baseball, and baseball's a funny game. LSU 1 point was 6-11-1 in conference, and then won 23 straight, went all the way to Omaha. But just doesn't feel probable for this team at this point. So, but we'll talk about it with David DeLucci here again in about a dozen minutes from right now. Right now, Muso is Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
The New York Giants had free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. in for a workout and a physical with the team on Monday. Of course, we told you about a potential reunion between OBJ and the Giants about a month ago or so in Tigers in the Pros. He's 33 years old. He's expressed the desire to play this season and return to the team who drafted him. Of course, John Harbaugh, now with the Giants as the head coach. Note, Odell has played for John Harbaugh in the past, 2023, one season with the Ravens. The two even met with Giants ownership back at the NFL's annual meetings in March. So we'll keep you up to date. It does not appear that a signing is imminent. Giants will wait and see how the draft does play out. Major League Baseball, Sunday. Hunter Fiducia, pretty good day for him with the Rays. 1 for 3. It was a single. Drove in 2 runs in the ball game as well. Got the start at catcher. Brings his RBI total up to 4 now with those two runs driven in. Alex Bregman continues to climb out of the cellar after a slow start. 1 for 3 for the Cubbies in their extra inning win over the Mets. Also drew a walk in that ball game. Grant Taylor kind of took it on the chin a little bit for, first time this season. Inning and 2/3 in relief. Gave up 3 earned on 3 hits, did strike out 3, and that kind of ballooned his ERA up. He's been one of the White Sox best relievers to this point in the season. And then, of course, the NBA playoffs. Those are in full swing. Sixers got destroyed by the Celtics, but Trendon Watford saw some action off the bench, shot 3 of 4 from the field for a total of 6 points, also grabbed a rebound in that contest. The Celtics lead that series 1-0. That is Tigers and the Pros.
Presented by Rouse's, where the truckload sale is going on right now. You want deets on it? You can get it at rouses.com, or at the Rouse's Facebook page. You can find a truckload of savings in the meat department. Oh my goodness. Whole short loin, T-bone, USDA prime beef for $9.97 a pound. My goodness. Why are you still listening to me? Detour to Rouse's right now. Truckload sale going on over at Rouse's. Get all the deets at rouses.com, or on any of their social media accounts. Rouse's. This feels like home. All right, it's After Further Review. Glad you're spending part of your Monday with us. Hope you had an awesome weekend. It was not a great weekend for the Tigers. Obviously, the baseball Tigers got swept. The gymnastics squad, congrats to them on their national runner-up finish, but certainly a mixed bag emotionally with the disappointment of coming up just short of the program's second national championship. We are, however, heading into draft week. So it's interesting because there's a new mock draft from Jordan Reed, and a group of scouts put out their top 10, which I think is fascinating for what they're looking at for the New Orleans Saints. And the two paths are diametrically opposed. With what a media member thinks and what a group of scouts think. So we'll get to that here in about 20 minutes from right now. SportsCenter's coming up. It's AFR.
AFR.
Spring is a time where we all sort of take account of our home, of our businesses. We do spring cleaning. You hear about it all the time because we all start spending more time outdoors. Well, maybe as you're making your way around your home, your business, Parish Restoration, maybe they need a call. I tell you all the time, look up at your vents, your air vents. You see little black specks around there? Well, that could be mold. Louisiana is the mold capital of the world. It's wet and it's humid. It's a breeding ground for mold. So a lot of times maybe you have condensation in certain areas and then the humidity hits it, and then mold can grow there. Maybe you have mold in your walls and you're unaware of it. If you want to knock that out, Parish Restoration can do it effectively, affordably, and efficiently. They could spray your home in half a day. ParishRestoration.com. Check them out online. It's ParishRestoration.com.